Good evening, Brendan.
Oliver Pritchard, how are you today on this beautiful April evening in Bogotá Nights, eh? Raining down your side.
I am more or less dry. I'm about as dry as I can be. It is a miserable day and no mistake.
Well, while I am in my apartment, obviously doing this live show, there have been drips of water coming down from the ceiling above, because I'm doing it close to where there's like a passageway all the way up to the top floor. So if we have an awful downpour, I could get wet here. I have moved the table away, so hopefully we'll be okay for that. But as you mentioned, it's kind of a little bit of a late arrival for the April showers that we get. What's the saying, Oli, that they have here?
Abril, lluvias mil. Everybody knows this, right? In fact, just very quickly, I'm starting to feel like I'm making this up at times. But if there's a Colombian out there listening, please confirm to me that the saying exists. Abril, lluvias mil.
Yeah, well, it's really only in the last few days, like we've had that horrible, when you get up in the morning, it's grey, it's raining, and it lasts. Because I don't mind a 2-hour downpour and you get on with business, but the last few days it's just been constant. Well, not constant, but a lot of rain and no real respite. But
Absolutely.
We're almost in May. This is the penultimate day of April, Ollie. So that saying doesn't really hold. God, yeah, 4 months down already. Anyway, will we have a look at what we've got coming up tonight in another very busy show? It's all about adapting to Colombian norms and way of life in our big topic on tonight's Bogotá Nights, Colombia's only live and interactive English language chat show. How much have you become Colombian in your daily routine here? For example, in your country of origin, were you pedantic about punctuality, but now find yourself, let's say, indifferent to timekeeping? Were you once a stickler for rules, but your time in Colombia has seen you let everything and anything go? Have you come to love the practice of exchanging numerous meaningless WhatsApp messages with acquaintances before you actually get to the point of any conversation, if there is any point, that is? And Colombians abroad, or those who have lived abroad, what customs did you embrace from your adopted country, and which ones did you simply find absurd? Send your messages to us right now using the live comment facility, and I see we've already got one message in. That's what we like to see. We want interaction. If you're watching this, by the way, recorded, you can still get involved by commenting on where you're viewing or via tweet, the handle being at Bogotá Post, everybody's favorite English language newspaper in Colombia even, and with the hashtag Bogotá Nights. The show is all about viewer interaction. After all, there's only so much of Ollie's opinions we can take each week. That's to come after 9:30. But to start with, it's our news review. And while the third COVID wave continues to pressurise stretched health services, calls to postpone a multifaceted national strike for the 28th of April, that was yesterday, fell on deaf ears. Ollie, we talked last week about the various reasons behind these protests, and we'll touch on them again, no doubt. But first, much of the debate now isn't about the root causes of the marches and the rights and wrongs of mass gatherings in a pandemic, but more so about the scenes we witnessed. What do you say to those who see this not as protesting, but wanton vandalism?
Well, I mean, it's sad, I think, to see, a lot of media outlets and a lot of public discourse going down that route, that very simple binary route. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there's lots of people out there who will only be able to look at a bank being smashed to pieces, an Éxito being looted, a bus being set on fire in Cali, and other things like that. Of course, in Bogotá, we didn't have quite as much destruction, but there were attacks, for example, down on the RCN building, down at Banderas. So, yeah, some people are only going to look at that. And at the end of the day, you've got only yourself to blame if you do that. I think it's sad. I mean, we're looking at thousands of people out on the streets in a number of different cities. It's sad that we're focusing only on the violence, but it's also inevitable. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, who wins out of this, Brendan? And I think the government looked very strong. At the end of the day, there were a few thousand people out yesterday in Bogotá. Nothing really happens. There's some spectacular pictures that the government can use to say, look, they're all vandals. 2 major newspapers have run headlines saying nobody's wearing any masks, aren't they irresponsible? And frankly, I think they're reaping they're reaping what they've sown. They really should have delayed this march.
Okay, and you mentioned that these images and videos that have gone viral. I saw our good friend Vicky Davila on her Instagram posted one of them where a police squad car was being attacked with 2 officers in it, and they're smashing the windows, smashing the lights. They pulled out something from the back seats as well. So when you see that, of course, even if you're in favor of the protests, these, let's call a spade, these Nero type guys attacking the car, you're like, well, did these guys even know what they're on the streets for anyway? So that's why I mentioned that wanton vandalism. And as you say, there are genuine reasons behind the protest, but this is not going to help whatsoever.
And at the end of the day, I mean, what really annoys me is when we have, there's lots of political commentators, mithering on and saying, oh, look, it's so, I can't believe they're focusing on the bank being invaded. You say, really? You think of all the things that happened yesterday, you're surprised that newspapers think that's the biggest story. That is definitely the biggest story for absolutely everyone. You're insane if you say otherwise. That's obviously the most impactful thing that happened yesterday. It's obviously the thing that's going to be concentrated on. And at the end of the day, if you do that, then you have to own it. You have to say, I wouldn't mind if the president of CUT came out and said, yeah, you know what? Exito's a big worker-abusing company. We don't mind them getting looted. And I said, okay, fair play to you. But doing this thing where you say, oh, it's not the real protesters that are doing that. Well, it is. There's no cutting back on it. That you can say that these people are a minority, and that's true. But it doesn't change the fact that they exist, and they are going to be focused on. And that's the way the world turns. And I mean, look, the thing is, Brendan, what we didn't see yesterday is regular people. We didn't see enough regular people out. And that's what makes it so easy for the government to say, oh, well, the people protesting are not the people that, that represent most of Colombia. And they're right when they say that. If we look back to 2019, there was a real swell of regular people, and we didn't have that yesterday.
Now, one thing I wanted to mention, though, just in terms of the looting, and I'll come back to another point. I saw a video posted on social media today of apparently people taking what was looted and bringing it back. It was rather impressive to see that. It was true, I take it.
Oh yeah, unless there's multiple lying going on, but it's been reported by plenty of people. I think the Exito manager gave a press conference, addressing some of that. I mean, there's different videos depending on your point of view. Some people are putting up videos of the police driving off with a television and saying, "Oh, look at them! They're stealing a television." I'm thinking, what did you expect them to do? Leave it on the side of the road? It's just absolutely bizarre. Obviously, they're going to put it on their motorbike and take it back to the Exeter. And some protesters have been doing the same, and that seems nice.
Yeah. Now, I just mentioned, you talked about, not having many ordinary people or the great masses on the street yesterday. Of course, maybe that's because people are concerned about COVID and we are in the middle of this third peak, or indeed heading towards it. And they heeded the messages from authorities not to protest. Indeed, Claudia Lopez had said she'd make City TV, I think it was, or is it Capital TV, whichever one it is, available for a big cacerolazo to do that virtually, in a sense. Now, we did have that last night. I know here there was a bit of a racket being made with the banging of the pots, as that form of protest is, and it was down your side. Not that it tends to make much of a difference, I don't think, but at least it might have shown that there are more people behind this than we saw on the streets. But then I did see, I think Saturday obviously is usually, because it's May Day, Workers' Day and all that kind of stuff, a protest day as well for the unions. I'm not sure if something's going to go ahead, but I did see a headline that the 17th of May has been earmarked for another big protest day. So this isn't going to go away, and maybe if we get over this third peak and things have opened up a little bit more, because the current restrictions, and we'll get to that in a little bit, are running until the 9th of May, then we might see the 17th of May a bigger event. And plus, of course, I'm sure Claudia Lopez and Ivan Duque, from a Bogotá perspective, were thanking the gods above that the weather cooperated for them in terms of it not being very nice to go out and protest yesterday.
May the 19th, I believe, is the next big day.
Sorry.
But absolutely, it's not a great time weather-wise, is it? And you know, with very good reason, you can't sit around protesting in the kind of rain that we've had today. And of course, nothing really happened today. And I think there's a really big question here on what happens in 3 weeks' time. Because it's not really clear. Seeing those kind of images that we saw yesterday, it's not going to encourage regular people to go out and join the march. I teach in a university where many young people support the aims of the march. They're particularly very anti-government. And their parents just won't let them go out. They won't countenance it. And it's very hard to say, oh, well, you should let your kids out, when all they see are tear gas and violence and kids being smacked in the head. So in that respect, I think that's why I would have said delay the march. Because now it's going to be very hard to get those regular people to come out, especially if, Brendan, in the next 3 weeks, significant changes are made to the Reforma Tributaria, which is probably the single thing that really has broad public support.
Yeah, just before we get into that, because obviously, as you say, linked to the protests, you had a kind of a list of winners from yesterday, and you mentioned the government, but maybe when we talk about the tax reforms, you can say that it's kind of robbing from Peter to pay Paul in a sense. But the police came out of this from a Bogotá perspective again, because we can mention Cali. Yeah, Cali seemed to take a lot of the heat. But yeah, the police restrained, like if you see that video of the police car being attacked, they just stayed in their car, even though it looked pretty dodgy at some stages, if they might be dragged out of it or something. So police very restrained in their actions. Yeah,
they've come out looking good. Fair play. I'm not their biggest fan, but they have played this one pretty well. No real reports of violence. That's not to say that no violence took place. There's definitely, we've all seen pictures of bloodied kids, but it's certainly not the level of repression we've seen in 2019 that we saw last year in September. So they've kept their batons in their pocket. Yeah, there's been some tear gas. Yeah, there's been a couple of baton charges. But to be fair, only after quite strong provocation. Don't give me this line that the police kicked it off. I've seen people saying, oh, it was all very peaceful and then the police started it. Come on. Look, you don't have to say the police are angels. To say that they handled things well today. In the same way that, yes, lots of protesters went out peacefully yesterday. A significant minority didn't. And the police did fairly well, I think, in that. And of course, if they get away with that, they look like the ones who are strong, but not brutal, which is pretty much how they want to look.
Okay, well, I was just going to ask Maria Carolina Mataron, who messaged us to confirm that April Juvia's meal. Did she go to the protests or did she stay at home? Is she in favour of them? Is she against the tax reforms? All this kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about, and also your thoughts on the ongoing quarantine measures. But apparently there was some voguing, she's saying, in the protest too. Is that I thought that was, is that meant to be a rainbow flag there? I'm not sure, Maria, but can't really check that out live now, the Instagram thing, but I'll have a look at it. I did see, is it the breakdancing thing? In Plaza? Yeah, I saw that, yeah. So I was expecting the police officers to dance back and we'd have a bit of a dance-off. That would have been cool. And very much
I was expecting them to violently shut it down. They, again, fair play. They didn't rise to it, so did well. I think that fundamentally that sums up, I think, these protests very well. There's a lot of image. There's a lot of looking good, getting your Instagram video. What there isn't is a great deal of substance. Yeah,
one thing as well, I see Blue Radio reporting that there's like 6 main groups, apparently organized groups behind this, that are instigating and coordinating the violence, based in Bogotá, but doing it, or also sending out troops, so to put it, to other cities. I'm guessing there's truth in that, if we can believe the very reliable Blue Radio. Which maybe isn't surprising. I don't know if that we're having these kind of coordinated, infiltrated groups in the protest to kick off violence. But anyway, Oli, so linked to this, the tax reforms, and this is the 3rd week in a row now we're talking about these tax reforms. But you said the government came out as maybe a winner in these protests. But they have backtracked considerably. It seems they are going to backtrack considerably anyway on the tax reforms. So, like, have they any backbone, in a sense? There's already a split in Uribismo. Alvaro Uribe coming out saying that he wants to see significant changes. So where are we going with this?
Yeah, no, but listen, Brendan, those changes were coming anyway, protests or no. At the point at which the initial reaction was so vehemently anti-tax, and it became very clear that, in Caracol, pardon me, Caracol had 86% of Colombians refusing to vote for anybody who went anywhere near the tax reforms. Once that happens, pretty much you're guaranteed there's going to be changes. There didn't need to be a protest for that. So in that respect, whether the protests have no real bearing on that whatsoever. Duque, I think he's done what he could do. He looks good, offering saying, well, we've listened to the people. I mean, a quite comical press release in which, the junior minister came out because Carrasquilla wouldn't face the music himself. And a junior minister came out and said, look, we're trying to build consensus. We already have one consensus. No one likes it. So honest, to be fair. But it's a long road ahead. And again, expect those deals to be done. Expect those that backroom dealing to be going on. Very interesting what you say about this split in Uribismo. We mentioned it last week. It appears to be a fault line that's growing. Keep an eye on that.
Okay, and of course, in future episodes, we are going to be delving more so into actual Colombian politics and the mechanizations behind them and who is who and all that kind of stuff, especially with a presidential election coming up next year. But just on the tax reforms, people can listen back to the last 2 episodes, really, Oli, and get your thoughts on it. And it would seem that you were fairly more or less in agreement that you thought they were going in the right direction, these progressive reforms.
Correct.
I have not met one Colombian who is in favor of it. Like from all, as we talked about this, from a Strato 1 to a Strato 6, but what do they want? Are we kind of looking at perpetual mediocrity, that they're happy? We just stay in this middle ground. We'll complain and say we want changes, but we don't really want anything to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, again, looking at the demonstrations yesterday, people saying, oh, we pay far too much tax. And you say, well, but that's what Carrasquilla is attempting to do. He's attempting to sort out the tax system. He's attempting to put more money into, to make a higher tax take from income tax and a lower tax take from indirect taxation. And to me, that's great. Look, I was starting to think Brendan, that I'd somehow got things wrong. I was starting to think, or maybe everybody is right, and maybe the sky really is orange. And so I went and looked at my tax reform, my tax statements for the last few years. I pay on my salary, my total tax take is about 5%. 5, Brendan. I earn significantly more than the minimum wage, and I'm paying a total tax take of 5%. So, and I looked at La Repubblica have done nice little things saying if the tax reformer went through, what would certain groups of people be paying in terms of income tax? Even if you were earning 1 billion pesos a year, you would still only, an English billion, I should say, 1,000 million, still only be paying about 25% of that in tax in total. So it's a really low tax burden. You look at, Carrasquilla is aiming to get more than about 6 to 7% of Colombia to pay tax, income tax. It's insanely low. And again, what's really sad about this is it covers up the fact that that's why we have IVA all, so high and all over the place, because it's the one type of tax that actually it's relatively hard to avoid and becoming harder to avoid as things digitize. But, I keep being told, Brendan, IVA affects the poor the hardest. And I go, yep, okay, that's standard, that's accepted by all economic theorists everywhere in the world. Then the same person will say, oh, but an IVA rebate for poorer people doesn't mean anything because they don't pay IVA. And I say, you can't. Those are what do you? I don't know. It's bizarre. I don't know. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, it's mad. I had a little conversation, with those product pushers, for the want of a better phrase, in the supermarkets. The people that are there with Alpino and things like that. It's actually two girls I've come to know in Exeter. We're having a chat about this. Now, obviously, these are close to minimum or minimum wage workers. But this idea that it's like, well, we shouldn't pay anything. Well then, where does the money come from?
Right. So who's going to build a road? You think somebody's going to come out of nowhere and start paying the police out of their own pockets? It's bizarre. And actually, this bizarre line also, Brendan, that also gets me is when people say, I don't want to pay the government because they're corrupt. Okay, fine, they are corrupt. I fully agree with that. Yep, corruption could be handled a lot better. Colombia is actually less corrupt than any of its neighbours, but let's skip over that for now. Then you go on to things that go, leave it to private business. And you go, on what planet do you think private business is less corrupt than government? If you honestly think that's true, I suggest you look at private business a lot more closely.
Yeah, indeed. Look, guys, we've talked, as I said, we've talked about this now for 3 episodes in a row. You can find the episodes looking back on the Bogotá Post videos or my own Wrong Way Corrigan the blog, or even on YouTube. You can do a search for Bogotá Nights. We upload all the videos there as well, and check out previous episodes. But quickly, Oli, and this is obviously an ongoing topic, but COVID regulations, it seems like an age ago that they changed, but actually it was only Sunday evening that we have, entre comillas, in scare quotes, stricter measures now for the weekend. So what do we have?
Well, it's kind of one of these things that, what's really changed is nothing's changed. So, we've got this alleged full lockdown at the weekends. It's not quite clear how that changed from anything before. I can't really get that. I think the real headline figure is 2 things. One, the toque de queda, the curfew, starts at 8 o'clock, as it did before, but all businesses are shutting at 7 so that people can get home for 8 o'clock. And apparently they're going to be super, mega, hyper strict on people being on the streets after 8. I haven't noticed a big difference, but to be fair, I generally leave the house at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, for example, after this show to take the dogs out to go to the toilet. I haven't noticed a difference, but also who would be out on a day like this anyway. It's hard to say. Interestingly, Brendan, one of my favourite things about the regulation is restaurants have to close at 7. Everywhere has to close at 7. It's very reasonable. But you can still order domicilios until 10 o'clock.
So who's going to be delivering that stuff?
No, it's just going to be a really cold pizza.
Well, yeah, there are so many anomalies in this. It doesn't make sense. And you talked about, like this idea that everybody is meant to close up at 7 to give their staff that hour to get home so that the Toca de Queda can actually properly start at 8 o'clock. I have an acquaintance who works in a cafe around Zona Hay, around the 70, whatever it is, Calle 70 above the Septima. She lives around here in the far, far north. She got home at like 10 o'clock the other night or something. So, and she said, no, we didn't close at 7. And so it's not even being enforced. And there's one thing as well, like, because I know you said that restaurants and cafes and things like that are allowed to be open, but I think technically they're not meant to have table service, because last weekend in one of my offices, but the police were on their case and came in and cleared the place out. And this was a place where a lot of sit-up drivers and Transmilenio drivers go in to have their breakfast, this particular panaderia in Barrio Nueva Zelandia, just near the Portal Norte. So then the door closed and were doing it clandestinely to let people in. But then other panaderias, there's no issue whatsoever. So it seems like the authorities themselves aren't 100% sure what they're meant to be doing.
Who knows what's going on? I was certainly sitting down having sitting down in a cafe, having a coffee with a friend on Monday evening until 6:15 when we were told to, pick up sticks and get out. I walk past restaurants and cafes. They seem to have people sitting around eating. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not 100% sure. But anyway. Things carry on as they have been.
No one is. That's always the problem. Yeah.
Okay, well, look, let's move on from that because, no doubt we'll be talking about it next week as well, because these measures are meant to run, by the way, until the 9th of May. So that's on a Sunday. So we shall see. Oli, you managed to get to a live sporting event at the weekend. Lucky you. Of sorts, anyway. We had the end of the Vuelta Colombia in Bogotá. How did that go
down? It went down very well. I didn't watch the whole race, but certainly quite nice to be able to, be part of a big public event for once. I do love the bit where they kind of go, remember, no agglomerations, but also, by the way, we've put on an event specifically designed to make agglomerations and created like a little space for you to agglomerate in. Again, it's this hypocrisy. But yeah, well managed. It was a decent race. It's lovely to see an event like this taking place in Bogotá. They really messed that up for a few years, but now they seem to have Bogotá firmly on the map cycling-wise, which is very good. Won by a Paisa, Tito Hernandez, and it was announced this morning that a young lad called Paro, who was a bit of a breakout star throughout the week, he's going to be off to Europe next season. So lots of good news stories there.
Future star in the making there. We'll watch that space. You can say you saw him in Bogotá before he became a Tour de France winner. We'll see.
One step at a time.
No, I'm putting my money on him now. He'll win the Tour de France before 2030. Get to the bookmakers now. Put the money on.
No pressure, son. No pressure.
No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. Quickly on sport before we get to our big topic, guys, which of course is about adapting to Colombian life and Colombianisms and how you go about it, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We're going to be talking about that very shortly. And also Colombians listening. Maria Carolina, for example, our dedicated message writer for today. Have you lived abroad? Have you found customs there very odd, or things that you would love to see Colombia take on here? Do let us know. But quickly, just to mention, those of you who are interested, because this is talking about adapting to Colombia. Back in the pre-pandemic days, I used to like to go to my tiendas and watch the semi-finals and finals of the Liga Betplay, as it is now, was the Liga Águila. It hasn't been bad showing in the quarterfinals in the first legs for the Bogotano teams. Millonarios 2-1 up on America. Santa Fe, well, they were, see, I was only focused on Millonarios. Santa Fe lost 3-1 to Junior, but anyway, there you go. But Oli, on that, and we might as well get into our topic, kind of maybe using that as a nice segue. Are you at all into Colombian football? Do you have a team?
Not fully. I do sort of nominally follow Santa Fe there, but no, not in any sort of serious way. I've been to a few matches. It's quite pleasant. I have to say though, talking about how I've kind of become less English, as it were, I suppose. I just don't go out of my way to follow English sport that much anymore. I used to be, when I first got here, I'd go out of my way to watch English matches, getting to a bar or a coffee place for, mid-afternoon to watch European time matches. But yeah, I've sort of fallen out of it very much, I think.
Yeah. Well, on a broader scale, I have, but it's not really to do with adapting to Colombian life or anything like that. It's more that I've decided I don't want to waste my own good time and energy getting all excited and usually upset following an Irish team or my native Roscommon or whatever in Irish football. So I watch it where I can, I'll tune in or whatever, but I don't go out of my way. Whereas, as I said, when there's a game on in the Tienda or whatever back in the normal days and a few people are watching it, I'd like to go and watch Millonarios. And particularly in La Perseverancia, which was my kind of buddies when I socialized more so in La Perseverancia, were more football guys. The great Fernando, in his tienda, he'd always have the games on. Whereas my buddies this side of the city here around the greater Verbenal area, they're not big football fanatics. So that means if, for example, Millonarios were playing America, the Cali last weekend, and nobody really cared around here. Whereas if you were in La Perseverancia, we need to get the game on. But I am, like you, nominally a Millos man, just by pure accident, really. So I am more of the working class guy, which kind of seems a bit paradoxical considering the name of the club. But isn't that the way it goes? Santa Fe is kind of more for the richer folk.
That's right. Yeah, there's sort of highest sort of thing. Yeah, more university educated, etc. Yeah. I like to think of it as the hipster club. Although I suppose the hipster club would probably be Equidad.
Oh, that's right. And they're actually in. They're in the quarterfinals, 1-0 up on that great club Nacional, which does bug me. A lot of Bogotanos who support Nacional. And it's like, why?
They're Nacional. I mean, it would annoy me it annoys me when they support America de Cali.
But they're America. We're in the Americas. If you're going to take that line. Yeah, that's just, because in fairness, the first ever jersey football shirt I did buy here was Nacional, because it's kind of got the Irish look to it, or a Celtic look, the green and white and stuff. But then once Bogota became the base, and a lot of my friends were Millonarios fans, so now although I've never been to a Millonarios game, I've been to 2 games in El Campín. Both of them were Santa Fe Nacional, both of them as well, actually. Wow. Yeah. Which Santa Fe, I think, won the first and lost the second. But there was years apart. But anyway, and then I guess if we're just sticking with football for the moment, and again, guys, as we said, these are the kind of issues we're going to be talking about, are the things in terms of what have you taken on board in your life here in Colombia, or vice versa. Maria Carolina told us that she lived in Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. Were there things there that, number one, that you found really odd and strange and thought, how can they live like this? Or number two, particularly maybe from Canada, obviously Mexico and Brazil more Latino. But yeah, in Canada were the things that you thought, we need this in Colombia. But yeah, one of the other big, I was going to say on the football, La Selección, when Colombia played England in the World Cup, last 16, wasn't it?
Last 16, yeah.
Yeah, where were you on that?
I was in England, fortuitously. and went off to Canada later that day. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would always support England for that, and I don't mind getting. But to be honest, that's pretty easy, I think, for an English person. Following the local team is not, it's not rocket science. It's not hard to do. What I'm really interested in, something I think about a lot, is, people say to me, I would say quite regularly, I'm sure you get it as well, Brendan. People say, "Oh, you've been here 9, 10 years, whatever. Oh, you're just like a Bogotano." Or, you must be more Bogotano than the Bogotanos. Or, I bet you're really Colombian now. You're like an honorary Colombian. And I always think to myself, well, what does that mean? What would make me Colombian? What would I do if I, or what do I do that's English? Or what do I not do anymore that I used to do all the time when I lived in England? I find questions like that. Like, it's even just little things. Like, I really can't get used to the idea of having a big lunch and then a small tea. I can't get my head around that. Absolutely cannot. It really sort of affects me. And I know that logically it shouldn't, and logically it makes sense. Have a big, massive lunch or dinner, and then a small little tea, and then go to bed, and you'll be fine. But I find it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that hasn't been an issue for me, really, because when I could back in Ireland, I would actually do it that way. But outside of that, when I was working and needed to be kind of fully alert in the afternoon, I just eat kind of small, eat frequently, but in small amounts, kind of that style. So yeah, that kind of big meal at 1 or 2 o'clock. But then, like, some of them eat a lot. They eat a big dinner too. On top of that, how they manage to keep their weight down, I'm not sure. Unless they're very active. But, well, maybe that's more construction workers that I know around here, so they are actually burning it off during the day. But yeah, different thing if you're leading a sedentary lifestyle, sitting in front of a computer screen for your working day. But yeah, from a food perspective as well, like I know people talk about what you eat, and I know that's not the road we really want to go down on. But like here, I'm easy. Like I pretty much eat anything.
Yeah, I find things like that are it's sort of very bizarre, and I think there's other things like I find this with my dogs a lot, that it's customary here not to have dogs on leads, but I can't get around the idea of that. That's something I hope a day never comes when I turn. When I sort of start going, oh yeah, it's fine, just let the dogs off the lead in the middle of the city. They might get hit by a car, but who cares?
Are you teeing me up here, Oli? If I don't score this goal that you've just lined up for me, because in my latest Wrong Way Corrigan blog, I do have a goal about. The title of the blog is called "The Dog's Life in Colombia." I mean, the kind of freedoms that dogs have here, one has to be envious of them. And then they can do whatever they like, and there are no repercussions whatsoever. Because I did get bitten by a dog a couple of weeks ago. Now, it wasn't too bad. Now, you've experienced worse, Oli, of course. So, this idea that the dogs can roam free, I know this isn't unique to Colombia.
No, I think it's insane. Yeah, that's something absolutely I'd love to see brought in from Britain. Yeah, responsibility for your animals. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, let's not forget, responsibility for the animals too. Like I said, one of the key reasons I have my dogs on leashes is because I don't want them getting hit by cars. Although little chance of that now, they're sleeping on the sofa. But yeah, I mean, it's really bizarre. I find it very bizarre. And we've got Angela here saying, again, in the town she's living in, she's one of the odd ones out walking the dog on the leash. I fully believe it, Angela. I fully believe it. Because whenever I'm out, I'm the mug with dog on leash. There's maybe 5 or 10% of us. Everyone else, and this is the thing, Brendan. What you have to remember is it's not irresponsibility. It's not like the rule is put your dog on the leash and people are putting it to one side. I think they're often looking at us with dogs on leashes and saying, aren't they cruel? Though, aren't these other people cruel, keeping the dog on a lead and stuff.
But can I flip that on the head? Because my neighbour here, the son of my good friend, keeps birds in cages. So then I could flip that. Hey, that's a bit cruel, leaving them in a cage. Can I open it up there and let them fly around?
I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah, I'm definitely not a big fan of caged birds. Not at all. And again, continue on animals. Disappointingly, on my runs in the park in the morning, there's now a guy practicing bullfighting. It's quite comical. They've got kind of a trolley with some horns on, and he's dressed up in his, fancy outfit, waving a red flag, and his trainer's driving this trolley towards him.
Trolley. Did they even dress it up like a bull? It's
got horns. They've stuck 2 big bull horns on it. Anyway, just looking at that is a facet of Latino culture that I never want to adapt to. I don't want to be a part of that. Blood sports don't turn me on.
Well, I have a confession to make, but I think I mentioned it in a previous episode as well, that I was at a coleo, isn't that what it's called? Yeah.
Like the tail, yeah.
Yeah, in Arauca in Tame, because it was part of, their festival, and obviously you're in big cowboy Janeiro country there. You kind of wonder, well, it's a bit cruel, isn't it? Like, trying to catch the tail of the animal, the cow or bull, whatever it happens to be, male or female, running and trying to trip it up. And then I was wondering, well, how do you know who wins? And I was told it's the amount of rolls that the cow or bull, whatever it is, makes. So if it rolls over, surely they break their necks in that. I know it didn't happen, thankfully, when I was there, but surely there has to be fatal accidents for the poor animal.
Or even non-fatal accidents which lead to them being put down, I would have thought as well.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, cows on their feet, and I know this. I mean, I grew up on a cattle farm. They can be tender enough things. They're big beasts, so... and their legs aren't exactly the strongest things in the world. So kind of when they're rolling over like that, anyway, but as we said, I was there, I wasn't criticizing it, I wasn't going to. If somebody came to you, Oli, and said, okay, the bull ring in Bogotá, what do you call it, Santa, blah, 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 something or another, what's it called? And they said, anyway, whatever the name is, but you get no cursing. No, but you get an invite, VIP section, free wine and cheese to go along to the bullfighting. Will you go? Okay, I'll go and I'll have a look because it's part of the culture.
Colombian cheese or British cheese?
Dutch.
Ooh. No, I would turn it down. It's a situation I haven't been put in, but I can't see a situation in which I would take that option. Okay. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But coming back to the Colau, I mean, you mentioned yesterday health and safety. That's something I fully get in Colombia. That's one of the things I love about living in Colombia, and I fully adapt to it, and I think it's great. I take more responsibility for my own actions. Other people take responsibility for their own actions. If you'd have told me, Brendan, 15, 20 years ago, if you'd have said, hey, Oli, how do you feel about the idea of riding in the back of a pickup truck, over kilometers and kilometers of mountain? I'd have gone, what, in the back of a pickup truck? Why are we, what, that's public transport? What the hell? But now I just kind of go, yeah, no, it's fine. No worries.
Well, again, going back to my country origins, I have been driven around in the back of a pickup truck in rural Ireland because my dad always had a pickup truck, but it'd be only around the village when we go herding up cattle or whatever, so I'm well used to that. But again, even that in the cities then, we talked about transport in Bogotá in previous episodes as well. When you jam-packed like sardines into these buses, a lot of the time the Colectivo couldn't close the door, so you'd be just hanging on I mean, that you just would not be allowed to do that in the likes of Dublin or London or New York. Yeah, just crazy. And then you go to the small village, because you don't see this in Bogotá, in fairness, but you'll go to any pueblito, you'll have maybe up to, I did see this once, this is not a lie, 5 people, like a family of 5, the husband, wife, and 3 children on a motorbike heading off somewhere, and not one of them wearing a helmet. But it is the refreshing thing, and I've said this before, and I've written articles about it. Like, as you said, you're responsible for your own actions. Like, you're walking down the street here, and if you fall in to an open manhole, or utility hole, I think is the politically correct term to use these days, utility hole that's uncovered, and you fall into it, well, that's your own tough luck. Of course, you do that in our countries, and your dollar, if you're not badly injured, but even if you are, but you're all, you've got pound signs or euro signs in your head, because you'll sue the local authority. Here, good luck to you. Like, for example, and this is obviously bad from my perspective, but I was in a panaderia in this part of town last year. It's a panaderia that I've never gone back into, and you can understand why when I tell you the story. I was eating a pastel hawaiiana, whatever they call it, pineapple and ham. First bite, got into it. I thought, this is, sometimes you think, the ham is a bit like, it's hardened. So I just thought it was the ham. Pulled it out. It was a razor blade, like from a shaving razor blade in the pastel. I was just there, like, guys, it's horrible. Like, and in the whole panic and confusion, like, I was just there. What the hell have you done? Like, I should have taken a picture of it, obviously, so I'd have photographic evidence. But I did get in touch with the health authorities. I was sent from one department to another, and eventually I got a letter back, kind of going, this is very unfortunate for you. We're sorry to hear this. Our officials did call around to the panaderia in question, and we can thankfully, more or less, this is what they wrote, thankfully inform you that they do not regularly put razor blades into the mixture. So, well, that is reassuring. Thank you very much. Like, ridiculous. Obviously, that happened in Ireland. Yeah, you'd be suing the place, and I could probably retire on what I would get from it, which of course brings its own problem, because then that brings in compensation culture and all that kind of stuff. But yes, that's my rant over.
It's an entertaining one. I mean, but in transport in general, I mean, yeah, I've got to say, I'm not sure about now, but certainly when I lived in London, if somebody had said, let's take a bus up to Manchester, I'd have probably said, what? No, let's take the train, or let's not go. If we can't get a cheap train, then let's not go. I'm not spending 5.5 hours on a bus. That's too long. That's like, a third of a waking day. Whereas now, 5.5 hours on a bus doesn't even feel remotely arduous. That feels like a regular trip to me.
Yeah, well, actually, to be honest, I've really embraced these whole long bus journeys, because, in this distracted world that we live in with social media and internet connections, and I know now you can get Wi-Fi, unfortunately, on the buses, but I find it is a great time to get some reading done. Now, I know some people say it's very difficult to read if you're on a bus that's winding around the Andes, and you're going like this all the way, but no, I did like a great time to kind of just unplug myself from the world or whatever, and think about things. And like, because in Ireland, I mean, if you're on a bus in Ireland for 16 hours, you could probably do the whole circle of the island of Ireland, more or less. But yeah, like, those buses have no problem whatsoever with them. Much to the chagrin of my friend Declan Ryan, of course, he wants us all to be taking domestic flights here on Viva Air. But no, I'm still in favour of the bus. Actually, hopefully, if restrictions allow and things are a little bit more relaxed, I should be going to the Eje Cafetero in a couple of weeks' time. So I'll be doing that via bus as well. By the way, just Maria Carolina, cheers for that, telling us that it's not the first time she's heard about razor blades being found in bread products from panaderias, that they use it to cut bread. They use razor blades. What the heck? Is it cheaper or something? There must be some economic reason behind that. They use razor blades. There's one thing, Ollie, though, about... Go on, yeah? Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, on a bus, Brendan, just to get off the bus subject, on a bus, this, I think, is a key thing on how long you've lived in Bogotá and how much you're going to become a Rolo, and how much you're not. How fast do you sit down on a bus if there's an open seat?
What do you mean? You mean like on a collectivo?
Collectivo, Transmilenio, doesn't matter. How quickly does your ass touch the bottom of that seat?
Oh, right. Do you do the whole hot seat syndrome thing?
Do you do the hover?
No, I'm not a hover.
I think that's the thing. I think once you do the hover, you should get your citizenship. Actually, not your citizenship, but you should be allowed to use the title Rolo, I think. Or maybe it is, I don't know, is it a Rolo thing or is it a Colombian thing? I'm trying to think, does it happen in other cities?
Well, in fairness, if you live in the coast, like, it's going to be pretty difficult because all the seats are going to be hot all the time, so you'll never sit down. So that, is this hot because of natural heat or is it hot because of body heat? God, I don't know what to do. I know. In fairness, I've seen a few rogues in this city that don't adhere to that hot seat rule that they have. Hold on, Angela's just saying that they are actually taught to let the seat air. Okay. Well, nowadays you can go around with your disinfectant, your hand gel and stuff, and just give it a wipe as well while you're at it. Maybe
bang on. Yeah, that's got to be the way forward.
Yeah, and spray it with some chlorine or whatever. There, it's done. The solution.
What about washing up, Brendan? Are you a person who washes everything up piece by piece with running water? Or do you prefer to put it all in a bowl, let it soak, let the washing up liquid actually do what it's designed to do? Or do you just go cold water and I'm going to tidy the knife without actually cleaning it?
Well, if I'm in my own house, that's how I like to do it. Hot water, let things soak, and have it in a either have the sink plugged so that you let the water fill up, or have another basin or whatever to put them all in, and add hot water. If I'm in somebody else's house, and that kind of, like, number one, they'll be kind of going, oh, what are you boiling water for and wasting gas and all that kind of stuff. Don't be doing that. But then yet they let the water run. So, like, how many actual kind of sinks of water do you go through?
Gas is so much cheaper than water. I've got a gas canister out there behind me. It's been running now for 16 months. It's comically, and it cost me, 100 grand, something like that. Gas is not expensive.
Yeah, no, well, exactly. So, when you're dealing with grease, obviously, and oil, like, you really do need hot water.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just tidying it. You're making it look like it's clean, so you can't see anything, but you haven't necessarily killed any of the sort of bacteria living on it. Yeah. Coincidentally, lots of my friends get food poisoning. Weird, isn't it?
I would have thought their defences kind of be well built up at this stage, that they're used to kind of eating everything and any kind of sort of bacteria and germs going into the system, that you build up defences. But kind of linked to that in the kitchen and recycling and all that, like, most of us now from particularly the north of Europe anyway, I'll say, we come with all our wonderful habits of, you put this in this bin, you do that, and you're charged for normal household waste, so you do your damnedest to make sure that household waste weighs as little as it can. And then you come here and, and we talked at the start of the year of new recycling protocols and things like that, but it just all seems to get thrown together. You nearly just give up, especially if you're house sharing too, because no one else sticks to it. They'll throw anything into any bin, and so I have to say I've kind of given up on the recycling here. It's just like, it nearly doesn't matter. One thing I will do, I continue to separate my organic waste. That's the one thing. I'll put all the other dry stuff in one bin, and I'll put my organic waste into another. But then when you put the rubbish,
what do you do with the organic waste?
Yeah, but then when it's just the when it's the bin collecting day, I mean, I'm only in this. So, I mean, I don't know where it all. Yeah, I should probably find, and around here, there's a lot of like pasture places. So maybe I should just go there and dump it. Might be a better option rather than just putting it into the normal waste. I'd probably get into trouble for doing that, though. That would be ironic. But
yeah, no, it's something I find incredible. There's two things I find really hard when I go back to when I'm sort of back in Europe, especially. One of them, is throwing stuff away. I become a bit lazy, I think, here. I do find myself slipping in a bit to the local ways, and I should maybe be a bit more Northern European. And to be fair, many Colombians are fairly Northern European. I know plenty of people here who do recycle very diligently. And of course, Colombian recycling is a hell of a lot more efficient than anywhere in Northern Europe. Anyway, the other one is cash. I can't get my head around that, and I imagine it'd be really hard for new people coming to Colombia, having to get used to using cash again. But I can't get hold of it. I go into London, and I've got, money, and I give them money to the people at the bar, and they look at me like I'm an absolute idiot. They're like, well, what are you doing? Just swipe your card. What do you mean I have to take this? What do I do with these little coins? Why are there little discs of? Why are you giving me little discs of metal? What am I meant to do with these?
God, I'm not going to look. I'm not looking forward then going back to Ireland if that's the case, because I'm still a money man. Old school. Well, but they say that you, especially like if you're on a tight budget or whatever, that you're more conscious and aware of what you're spending if you're physically paying cash. Whereas when it's in a card, it's like, damn, I spent 100,000 there, I didn't realize or something. It's a mental thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, again, and it ties into my kind of wariness, I should say, of big tech and Big Brother watching us and what we spend and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. We've a comment in here from Jose Alfredo. It's important to start thinking, as citizens of the world. Sorry, not like new generations do. Ironically, not to adapt to a place, but transforming it in a rational way. Well, Jose Alfredo, I'm not sure. Can I transform it?
But he does have a point. I mean, I find myself continually, obviously I spend a lot of my interactions with my students, and I do find myself thinking, do I think differently from them because I'm English and they're Colombian, or do I think differently from them because I'm old and they're young, or do I think differently from them because I'm really weird and they're kind of normal? And it's hard to kind of work out which of those factors is most important with things.
I'd wager it's a mixture of all three on that one, Oli. I think any foreigner who comes to live in Colombia, we mightn't be the full 100%. I'm speaking for myself, of course. Yeah. But it is, I guess, look at citizens of the world. We have to think that way. I guess this pandemic has, if we didn't know it already, has certainly shown us that we live in a very connected world. But guys, our producer's telling us to get the heck out of our virtual studio here. And we'll be back next week for another hour of fun in rainy Bogota. Guys, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.